What is history's greatest prank? Why did a US president let his pet dog join the cabinet? And what happened when a 12-year-old boy exposed his own mother as a witch? Quirky podcast, something true. Idle thumbs. iTunes has the answer to all the historical questions nobody had ever thought of asking. Its brilliance lies in the offbeat nature of these stories from the footnotes of history. In the 8-part series, some episodes touch on the obscure, some are ridiculous, and some plain unbelievable. Each is done in 10 minutes, giving it the feel of a quirky bedtime story. Narrator Alex Ashby has a little of the Richard E. Grant about him, sounding captivated yet cynical as he reads Duncan Fife's yarns. Even if the stories don't sound true, they are, and there's enough detail in them to have you Googling just to make sure. As for history's greatest prank, the episode Class Clowns recalls a trick played on the Royal Navy, when Virginia Woolf and her Bloomsbury gang sent a telegram telling the crew of HMS Dreadnought to prepare for a visit from 6 princes from Abyssinia, and turned up in turbans, fake beards and vast amounts of blackface. Stranger still is the story of Laddie Boy, a little white Airedale Terrier appointed first dog of the United States by Warren G. Harding, a president in desperate need of a popularity boost. Laddie Boy proved a great distraction from the government's woes. He even wrote opinion pieces praising his owner. But most unsettling is Hack's Processor, the story of Johan Johansson Grease, the Gavler boy, who had his own mother executed for practicing witchcraft in 17th century Sweden. It's told in the most grotesque way. The devil would dance in rapture, or squat underneath the banquet table and play music out of his bare bottom, spits Ashby. Such phrases are the essence of something true, disturbing, unnerving, but always delivered with humor. Your picks from our sordid fascination with sinkholes to the secrets of rehab pioneers. Saints of Somewhere presenter Kirsty Robinson brings us an eclectic lineup of individuals, from film directors to rehab pioneers, talking about their extraordinary lives. One that really stuck with me was open water swimmer Kim Chambers discussing the first time she slipped into the freezing water of San Francisco Bay and immediately knowing it was where she was meant to be. I remember a line, a truth, a wisdom like that from every episode. Recommended by Mark Waits. The Breaking Point producer Julian Manugaria. The Breaking Point. The Breaking Point is a series of intimate interviews about heartbreak and breakups, always told in the first person. Stripped back to just a voice with a guard down, it's hard not to be profoundly moved. My favorite episode is the 5th, Mark's story. He's the first man interviewed for the podcast, and his vulnerability is so refreshing. A great reminder that while our experiences of heartbreak are very personal, they are also universal. Recommended by Amy Jackson Daniel, Ian and Brent from the Slump podcast. The Slump. I consider myself a relatively normal person. I get annoyed by awful radio adverts. I find the accidental drowning of expensive security robots amusing, and am endlessly intrigued by sinkholes. For these reasons and many more, The Slump is a podcast I can relate to. It's basically 3 everyday guys setting the world to rights and having a laugh while they're at it. Anyone who's after an amusing look at weird stories from around the world should find an armchair, settle in and enjoy a good slump. Recommended by Tim Wood. Guardian pick Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Photograph cast and collab. Getty Science Weekly. For those of you interested in the future of human civilization, that's all of you, right? This week's Science Weekly is a must. It explores the current state of AI research with the renowned physicist Professor Max Tegmark, a MIT professor and the co-founder of the Future of Life Institute. In 2014 he co-wrote a widely distributed op, along with Stephen Hawking, Frank Wilczek and Stuart Russell, on the potential risks to humanity posed by artificial intelligence. Riffing on the release of the Hollywood blockbuster Transcendence, they called on the public and politicians to consider the implications of the birth of super-intelligent machines before they became a reality, and made it clear that this reality was not far off. Tegmark talks to The Guardian science correspondent Ian Sample about his latest book Life 3.0, which asks how we can harness machine superintelligence to solve some of humanity's biggest problems. Can the automation revolution bring wealth without destroying the human need for income and purpose? Where does society draw the line on autonomous lethal weapons? Big questions make this an utterly compelling listen. Recommended by Jason Phipps. If you've got a podcast that you love, send your recommendations to rowan.slaney@theguardian.com.